The ground speaks first. It is not a roar but a low but deep hum that shivers up through the soles of their feet through the cold stone of the overhang they call home. The old woman stops her work, a flint-flake-hilled half-naped in her calloused hand, her eyes clouded with age but missing nothing lift from the stone to the far peak that guards their valley. The mountain is named for the way it catches the morning sun. It is not catching it now. A thin dark plume no thicker than a spear shaft rises from its crown into the clear sky. It is a thing without precedent. I roam this. The rhythm of prehistoric life here was dictated by the seasons, the movement of the herds, the life and death ballet with the cave lion. The earth does not move. The mountains do not breathe smoke. Across the clearing a young male, his brow ridge, a heavy shelf of bone, sees her gaze. He follows it, his mouth falling slightly open. He nudges his companion, who is scraping fat from a deerskin. Soon all 20-3 of them are still a silent, anxious to blow of early humans. The children stop their play, sensing the shift in the adults. They press close to their mothers, their wide eyes fixed on the distant peak. The hum deepens, a vibration that makes their teeth ache. The plume of smoke thickens, billowing outward, churning like muddy water, blotting out the blue. The air grows still, heavy with a charge like the moments before a lightning strike. Birds fall silent. Even the ceaseless drone of insects dies away. Then the world breaks. The roar that follows is not a sound, it is a physical blow that hammers their bodies, stealing the air from their lungs. The ground heaves a violent, sickening lurch that throws them from their feet. Stones rain down from the overhang ceiling. The old woman is the first to rise. She does not scream. Her face is a mask of grim knowledge, a living archive of their human ancestors, wisdom none of which prepared her for this. She lets out a single sharp bark, and not a plea. Move. Go now. Chaos erupts. They scramble, grabbing what is essential by instinct, a child, a burning branch from the precious fire, a half-butchered leg of meat. The valley, their world, their only world, is now an enemy. The sky is turning to stone, a ceiling of grey ash that begins to fall, dusting their harrowed shoulders in a ghostly film. Looking back, they see the mountain's flanks split open, releasing a monstrous incandescent river. But worse is the grey cloud, the pyroclastic flow that detaches from the summit and races down the slope, an avalanche of heat and death that moves faster than any sprinting beast swallowing the forest whole. There is no hard choice here, no debate. There is only the flight of ancient humans from a god they cannot fight, a force they cannot comprehend. The only direction is away from the thunder into a world that no longer has a sun. They run until their lungs are fire and their legs are lead. The world behind them is a memory of thunder. The world ahead is a silent grey purgatory. The ash falls relentlessly, a soft suffocating snow that muffles all sound. When they finally collapse miles from the valley that no longer exists, there are only 19. For we're lost to the initial chaos, to panic, to the earth's violent shudder. The survivors huddle together, a knot of shivering bodies in a featureless landscape. The sun is a rumour, a dim coppery smear behind a perpetual shroud of grey. Days and nights bleed into one another, marked only by the deepening ache in their bellies. This chapter of human evolution is written in grit and exhaustion. The familiar landmarks, the lone tree, the crooked ridge, the river's bend, are all gone, buried beneath a blanket of ash. Their entire cognitive mapping, the intricate mental chart of their territory passed down through generations, is now useless. They are blind in their own home. The young male, the one who first saw the smoke, whose name is a series of guttural clicks meaning sharp stone, takes the lead. The old woman, whose name means root, follows. Her authority, once as solid as the mountain, is now as fine as the dust that coats her. Her knowledge belongs to a world that has been erased. Sharpstone's strength is the only currency left. He pushes them forward, his eyes scanning the horizon for any break in the monochrome despair. Water is the first crisis. The streams they cross are thick with a grey, poisonous slurry. They dig desperately at the banks, using flat stones to scoop away the foul sludge until clearer water seeps through. They drink the gritty liquid, the taste of the dead mountain in their mouths. The deer leg is gone in a day, gnawed to the bone, the marrow sucked clean. Now a new predator stalks them, starvation. Its claws are cold and it tightens its grip around their insides. The children are the most vulnerable, their whimpers a constant draining sound in the unnatural quiet of this new prehistory. On the fourth day they find a sign, not of life, but of past life. A lithic scatter on a windswept tries the discarded remnants of another clan's passing. Sharp stone kneels running a thumb over a beautifully worked flint point, a relic of Moose-Terrian craftsmanship. It is a ghost tool, a message from the dead that speaks of a shared struggle across the expanse of hominid history. But there is no food here, only the cold comfort of archaeology. The old woman finds something else, the faint tracks of a Machaerodiosa saber to its paws dragging with weakness. Even the great hunters are starving. The sight solidifies a choice in Sharpstone's mind. The old woman points a trembling finger along the choked riverbed, a path of habit. He shakes his head, pointing instead to a faint rise in the distance, a spine of rock barely visible through the haze. A gamble, a new path. A murmur of dissent trickles through the exhausted group. To abandon the river is to abandon the last known thing. It is a hard choice between a dead past and an uncertain future. The air changes first. The acrid taste of ash gives way to something sharp, wet and alive. A scent of salt and decay. After 9 days of marching through a grey hell, they crest a final gritty dune and the world falls away into an immensity they have no words for. Before them lies a churning, endless expanse of grey water under a grey sky horizon that does not exist. The ocean. Its sound is a constant, deep-throated roar, a beast that never sleeps. The survivors, now only 7, stare at the spectacle. The children hide behind the adults' legs, terrified by the scale of it. For beings whose lives were a finite valley, this infinite motion is a form of madness. This is a new chapter in ancient history, a moment undocumented but essential. The old woman sinks to her knees, her journey over. The sole tear is to thin the roaring water to loud. Her spirit belongs to the buried mountains. The coast is no paradise. It is a new kind of famine. The skills that define them, tracking the great deer, ambushing the woolly rhino, reading the language of the forest, are useless here. The vast beach is a graveyard of shells and strange inedible weeds. Hunger, a dull companion on their march, now becomes a sharp-toothed predator. They grow weaker. The desperate hunt for goals ends in exhausting failure. An attempt to eat a vibrant green seaweed leaves one of the males retching for hours. Their collection of ancient tools, so perfectly suited for butchering Pleistocene megafauna, seems clumsy and out of place. Sharpstone stares at the water with a fury born of helplessness. He picks up a heavy stone and in a fit of rage smashes it down onto the rocks at the water's edge. It cracks open a cluster of dark, sharp-edged shells. Inside is a smear of orange flesh. He sniffs it. It smells of the sea. He prods it with a finger, then, driven by a starvation that eclipses caution, he puts it in his mouth. It is food. A gasp of relief of discovery passes through the small group. This is the turning point, a triumph of primitive technology born not of planning but of desperation. They learn quickly. They find rocks to use as hammers, sharp flints to pry open the stubborn shells. Their hands, shaped by millennia of napping, flinted up to this new harvest. The tide becomes their new calendar, its retreat a promise of sustenance. The youngest survivor, a girl with her mother's wide, observant eyes, is the last of the bloodline. She is the future. The old woman, fading by the fire, watches as Sharpstone guides the girl's small hands, showing her which shells are good, how to strike them just right. The girl succeeds, her face lighting up as she tastes her first morsel won by her own effort. The old woman, with the last of her strength, takes a piece of reed ochre she found washed upon the shore. She mixes the pigment with spit and draws a single soft line across the child's brow. It is a benediction, a transfer of memory, an unspoken promise that their story will not end here, washed away by the tide. They have found their new equilibrium, a life lived at the edge of the world. The ochre on the child's brow is more than pigment. It is the thread of continuity, that defiant speck of color in a world of gray. In the grand and written text of anthropology, this moment is a footnote of profound importance. Theirs is not a story of heroic conquest but of desperate adaptation. The cataclysm that erased their world was a filter, one of thousands that shaped the evolution of Homo sapiens. It stripped them of everything but the core of what it means to be human, the ability to learn, the drive to teach, and the communal will to endure. The skills that saved them on that desolate shore, the methodical gathering, the reading of the tides, the sharing of knowledge, were not a lesser form of survival. They were an expansion of it. This forced migration to the coast, repeated across millennia by countless forgotten clans, is what ultimately allowed our human ancestors to fan out from the heartlands and trace the shorelines of continents to become a species of the entire planet. Their desperate gamble became our inheritance. The echo of their resilience is buried deep in our own DNA, a quiet reminder that the most profound innovations are often born from the ashes of a former world. And it leaves us with the unsettling question: when our own mountains breathe fire, will we still know how to taste the salt in the air? This is the chronicler bearing witness to the echoes in the silence. And the sea remembers everything.